Greetings, and in this short video presentation we're going to see how we go about completing the network design requirement for the network design proposal for CMIT265 using the given network design proposal template. Alright, so I'm up here and I've got the template opened up, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type in our name. Step 2, you're going to go down here to the network design proposal. You're going to get this junk out of here like this. Get rid of it, just delete it like that. Alright, leave the rest of it. This can be your introduction. The proposed topology. What you're going to do is here is you're going to go like this. This is how I would do it. The network will use a star topology period. And you get rid of this junk here. Then you go down here, you get Visio, you get Smart Draw. I don't care how you do this, but you draw up yourself a network diagram. It looks like this. These are your computers. This is a switch. This is a firewall. This is a router. This is the internet. You will diagram everything on here to include the IP addresses, the administrative access for the switch, the firewall type. If it's anything other than an ASA 5520 or 5540, and just keep it simple. All right. I don't want to see none of this sonic wall. I don't want to see none of this junk up here about open source or none of that other junk. All right. Keep it simple. The router, you don't have to worry about that. It's from the ISP. So you're just going to write a little block over here. You're just going to write a little block over here, and in that block, you're going to tell me all about the ISP. The name of the ISP, AT&T. Type of connection. We have a fiber connection with guaranteed 50 megs. Alright, that's all you got to say. As long as it supports what's going on inside of this network. But just keep it simple. Make sure you identify all the objects up here on this network diagram. Now again, you can use Visio. You can go out and get a free 60-day trial version of that off the internet. You can use Smart Draw and get a 30-day free trial, or you can use their suggestion. I don't care. There's a number of different ways that you can do this. Alright, so let's go back to the proposal. Alright, so we got this going on here. We got our network diagram. We're going to use star topology. Again, don't tell me about a mesh. Don't tell me about a ring or a bus or any of the other junk. The only topology we use in networking is the star. Okay, this is an Ethernet network. So there's only one cable you can use. That's Ethernet cable. Cat6e. Do it like this. You got to get rid of all this junk in here. The requirements, but when you're done, you can get rid of that. Proposed cables and connectors. Okay, we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to add our typing cable type, Cat6e, connector, the RJ45, and what does that look like? Looks like this. This is an Ethernet cable. You got these in your house. It's the same ones we use for a business. We buy whatever we need and we run the cable, or we have somebody run it for us. Normally we don't do cabling. We hire somebody who knows how to do cabling, and that they run it throughout the building. They bring it into the server room, or they bring it into the wiring closet, and it's all marked, it's all labeled. We got a punch down block. It goes into the block, and then we just start plugging in our cables from the switch over to it, and that's it. Alright, comes in a big box like this. Alright, so make sure you understand that we're only using Ethernet cable with RJ45 connector. That's the only cabling that's going to work for this proposal. Nothing else. This is all RJ45 with Cat cable, category 6. We don't use nothing else. There's no serials, there's no USB, nothing else. Now, about the wireless. Here's what I would use. I would use Cisco AeroNet 1400s, period. That's all you got to say. For our wireless connectivity, we'll be using Cisco AeroNet 1400. Justify the proposal. Well, it's real easy. The only cabling that can be used on an Ethernet network is category 6 or 5 cabling, and it all requires RJ45 connector. For our wireless, we will be using Cisco AeroNet 1400s. I don't care if you use 1240s. I really don't care. I'm just saying, keep it simple. AeroNets come in two parts. You got the send and receive, and then you got the radio. The radio mounts up inside of the server room next to the switch. You run a cable over to a port on the switch, and out on the floor you got that sender receiver that's sending out the signal and picking it up and sending it over to the switch so people can connect and authenticate to your Ethernet network. So you can go up here on your switch, and you should, or your network diagram. You should be going up here on your network diagram, and you should be showing a wireless access. Drop that wireless access point, and then we're going to draw a line over to it like that. Alright, so there's your wireless access point. This goes right into the switch. That's the radio. This is the receiver of the radio, and it goes into the switch, and everybody who uses wireless has access to the network. All right, it didn't say anything about servers, doesn't say anything about DHCP so far, or DNS. So we got that out of the way now. Okay, so just give me some information about why we're doing this. The network design, there's no more than 100 meters between one point to the next, and we can use Cat6e cable and RJ45 connectors to make the whole thing work. Just right up like so. All right, proposed network and inter-networking devices. Well, this section will be used to provide details on your proposed LAN solution. Very simple. What do we have in our LAN solution? We have a firewall. It's going to be a Cisco ASA 5520. We have a switch. That should be a Cisco 3800 switch, or any model you want to get. Talk about that. You don't have to worry about the router. The router is provided by the ISP. The wide network design. All right, so this is where you talk about how you went out and you talked to the salesperson at AT&T or Verizon or whoever, and they came up to you and they said, we can provide you with fiber optic to the building from the street at no cost to you if you sign it to your contract with it. And we'll bring you fiber, and we will guarantee you 50 megabytes, 50 Mbps connectivity to the internet for a certain amount of money every month. It's, $300-400 a month. You put it in the proposal if you like, that's fine. But just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Once we get into this cost here, like the models, the types, and the cost on the proposed ISP solution, we can do it like this. You can go out and you can get like a invoice. And here's how I would do it. I would get a sales invoice for network equipment. I don't care if you fill it out or if you get one that's already filled out and just modify it. I don't care, but it looks something like this here. We go up here to images, and you'll see that this is the proposed. See here? And this is your invoice. This is what I would use. Something like this type of format. Not just fill in the block. Type of, how much it costs, blah, blah, blah. And then I would just slap that into the document. So we've got a switch. We've got a firewall. And the ISP is going to provide the router. We don't have to worry about that. Our DMARC is right here. This is the firewall. So our DMARC is right here on this inside interface of the router. The ISP's responsibility is right here, the outside interface of the router. This is like a jack on our wall, or it can be the back of the router, and the router's in our server room. And what we do is we just run that cable from the inside interface of the router over to the outside interface of the firewall. Now we can get connectivity between the two. That's all there is. All right, so let's take another look at this proposal. One more thing here. Computer hardware systems. You're going to use an OEM manufacturer. You're not going to build any white boxes. You're not going to go get motherboards or any of that other junk. We're going to use either HP, Dell, or somebody. And I don't care who it is. I suggest that you use HP. So you can go out to the HP website and you can find yourself an HP workstation with all the specifications, and then you can copy and you can paste that into your document here. You can say that for the workstations for users, we'll be using the following HP model with the following specification. Bam, you're done. All right, proposed computer system hardware. That's it. That's all you got to have. So then that just takes care of it. That's it. That's it. So let's go through the requirements and let's see if we covered everything. So in the network design part 1, in this section I address each of the following. Define the network topology that will be used to justify the location. Star. That's it. Select the appropriate cables and connectors and justify the decision. Describe where wired connectors will be used within and across the two academic buildings, and specify the decision. Students must use both wired and wireless technologies. All right, so we've covered that. Now they're talking about the network connectivity between the two buildings. That's easy. What we're going to do is we're just going to drop either a fiber optic cable from one wiring closet to the next, across through the ground, which is our one option, or if you want to use wireless access points to connect the two buildings, you can. I don't suggest it because that's a security problem. I say go with the fiber optic connection between the two buildings. So what we do normally is we bring in a contractor and we tell the contractor, okay, I want you to wire up this new building. I want all the students to have their workstations as described in the physical topology that I'm going to give you. And all these jacks here will be wired into the wiring closet or into the punch-down block in the server room. And they will be labeled. And then I want you to figure out or give me a proposal for dropping a cable and connecting these two buildings together. Now, how else could we connect those two buildings? We could use it doing a VPN. We have an ISP provider on this new building, but we also have an ISP provider for the old building. Both buildings have a firewall. I could connect both of the buildings together by configuring each firewall to use a point-to-point VPN, and they could share information that way. Very slow, but it could work. If we don't have to have a lot of traffic between the two buildings, that's what I would go with. Select the appropriate network and inter-networking hardware for each building and specify the decisions. Well, we're not getting into servers here. We're going to talk about routers, which is from the ISP, so we don't have to worry about that. But the firewall and the switches, okay? No hubs. I don't want to see no hubs on this network design. Hubs no longer exist. We don't use them for anything. We don't have a lot of information about the number of students or the number of workers or administration or anything else in the building, so we can make some assumptions such as we have to support 100 people. Let's say it like that. We've got to support 100 people. And if you do that, then you should be fine. Select an appropriate wide area network design and wireless configuration. We've done that. And justify the decision. Students must use both wired and wireless technology. All right, students should be specific when discussing the models, types, and the cost. Now, we covered that. So what you want to do is you want to go out and you want to find a provider or a website that provides hardware and spec out the cost of the information. For instance, if you're going to use an ASA 5520 or a 5540 firewall, well, you can go out and you can spec the cost of that and come up with the specs for the information and put that into your proposal. Consider that faculty, students, and guests will bring their own devices. Sure, so that's why we got the wireless. So users can connect to the wireless network using a username and password. Now, we don't get into Active Directory here. We didn't do that. But normally, we would configure a logon and password for each user on the network. And it makes no difference if it's wireless or it's wired. Authentication, authorization is the same thing. The only difference between a wireless network and a wired network is the cable. We use radio waves in lieu of the cable, but that's the only difference. It's still, everything else remains constant. Consider that faculty, students, and guests bring their own devices. Students should be specific when discussing the models, types, and cost. Well, I say you go with the AeroNet 1500. I know I mentioned the 1400 earlier, but the 1400 is now end of life. But you can use a 1240 or you can use something else. I like the 1500s. That's why I recommend them for access points. They're very solid and they do a great job. Select the appropriate computer system hardware to use to support the faculty, students, overall network design to justify these sections. I would go up to the HP site and let's see how we do that. So I'm up here and I've gone to the HP site and I've just spec'd out a desktop PC. Now it can be a desktop or it can be a workstation. Don't worry about saving the client money. We're not interested in that. This is a university, University of Maryland. They get their money from the taxpayers and from being a for-profit. So let's just go with that. All right. Spend, spend, spend. Nobody cares. So what we want to do now is we want to go ahead and spec this thing out. So we got Windows operating system. First off, we have to have a professional version. So probably want to go with the workstation. You can't use home for anything. It has to be a professional version because those are the only ones that can join the network. Look at the specs. We got 16 gigabytes of RAM. We got a 256 gigabyte SATA SSD. Secondary hard drive is a 1 terabyte. That's pretty good. The DVD writer, 7.1 memory card reader. This all looks pretty good, with the exception of the Windows 10 Home, right? So you got to get that upgraded, and it costs about $1,200 per machine. Now, we can contact our hardware vendor and see what he's got in stock, and he might have something that he can give us that's a special price. We have to order enough of them for the network. So let's say we're going to order, I don't know, 50 of them for all the offices. Not too hard. Now, again, you don't have to use that. I'm just giving you an example of how to do this. How you do it is up to you, but that's how I would do it. I would just go out here and I would just spec it out. How you spec it? You can use HP Store, you can use Network Geeks, you can use Tagger Direct. There's a lot of different ways that you can spec out a workstation or a computer and get all the answers. Just be smart about it. But go into your document and elaborate. Elaborate on the cost, the model, and why you chose it, right? A couple of paragraphs, nothing big. All right, so make sure you read this very carefully. And this is just step 1 of the proposal, and I just completed it in about 15 minutes. That's how easy this is. So if you have any questions or concerns on how to do this part 1 of the network design proposal, get a hold of me. Talk with you later. Bye.